Hello everyone, I'm Avadh and I'm a dedicated functional consultant in Dynamic 365. In today's video, we are going to discuss about cash flow forecast. This is again very rare topic is discussed by someone in a context of Dynamic 365. So to know what is a cash flow forecast, so basically cash flow forecast have a two component. First component is cash inflow and second is cash outflow. Right. So these two component contains our cash flow forecast. So basically, what is a cash inflow and what is a cash outflow for me? So as a company, cash inflow means will received payment from customer. That's my cash inflow. We received interest from bank and we received interest from loan. That is my inflow. Right. So this is my cash inflow. So what is outflow for me? We will give the payment to the vendor. It is outflow for me. We will give salary to the employee. It is an outflow for me. Right. So this is my outflow. Apart from this, we'll take a loan and will repay that loan. That is that is my outflow, right? So this is how outflow for me. But as a layman language, if you are a employee and salaried person, so what is the inflow and outflow for you in day to day life? You are also doing a cash flow forecast for yourself also. Similar way, company also doing for themselves for as a cash flow forecast, right? So suppose I am a salaried person. So for me, salary is my inflow. And if I have I have invested something into the share market, so dividend is my inflow. Suppose I have received saving bank interest, post bank account interest, NSC interest. So this interest is also my inflow. So what is outflow for me? Suppose I'm doing household expense. Suppose I'm paying my internet bill. Suppose I'm paying my rent. So this suppose I'm doing I'm paying my petrol expense. This is my transportation expense, right? Suppose I am paying my income tax. So this is my income tax expense. So those are my expenses. But apart from this, I can do my investment. So investment is also my outflow. So I can do investment into the share market, into the mutual fund. So those are my outflows. So at the suppose at the a month start, I received my salary, right? So I know that my salary is 1 lakh, suppose, and my rent is a 20,000. So I'm spending my 20,000 of amount to my rent. I know at the beginning of my beginning of the month that my 20% I will spend on the rent, right? Same way, I know I have a 20,000 of SIP, suppose. So 20,000 I spend into the mutual fund. So rest of the amount, how will spend, and what are my monthly outflow in each category of expense, I can check and I can control it, right? Same way, company also have a cash flow cycle, right? Company will also do cash flow management through that cycle, and it is very important for a company to know their cash flow forecast and to manage their cash flow, right? So this is again important but very less used topic in Dynamics. I thought I can give some insight about this topic, and you can further continue your analysis into in this topic, right? Secondly, I want to discuss about the modules are supported in this cash flow forecast. So first is a general ledger module. Second, why general ledger module? Sometimes we'll pass some entries and for a related to cash payment or something through general ledger, right? We are passing a future related entry, provision entry also. So this is so for the general ledger have such kind of Cash flow forecast is enabled for a general ledger. Then cash flow forecast is enabled for a account payable module also. Why in account payable module? Because in account payable module, we will do the payment to the vendor, and there is a one cycle to do the payment to the vendor, right? For account payable module, there is option of cash flow forecast. Same way we are receiving payment from customers, so for that account receivable module also we have a setup of cash flow forecast. Again, we can do the setup for a budgeting, right? Because we know from budget for each expense how much we are going to spend, we'll know in advance, right? So we can set up our cash flow forecast for budget also. Then we can do the setup in inventory management, because it's we are frequently purchasing raw material and we will going to convert into the WIP and so on. Right, so it is a part of our purchase and manufacturing process, so we can consider that into the cash flow forecast. And last but not the least, project management is also part of our cash flow forecast, because sometime it might happen that we are dealing with construction contract and all. In such a kind of situation, we required we need to use a project management accounting, and to manage the cash flow of them, we required a setup for cash flow in project management accounting. So here I need to discuss what is a cash flow cycle for me, right? So there is a two cycle for a cash flow. Let me go to one of Excel. Procure to pay is my first cycle, and order to cash is my second cycle. Okay. So suppose I have created PO here. Now we are going to discuss about the P2P cycle and O2C cycle. So in P2P cycle, what happened that as a purchase department, will receive the PR from production department, right? So after receiving PR from production department, purchase department will ask for a purchase quotation from various vendors. Suppose we are going to ask a purchase quotation from 3 vendor. So after that, what we'll do, we are going to create select the vendor and select a vendor from these 3 vendor as per the purchase policy of the system of the company, right? Suppose we have selected vendor 2. After that, what we'll do, we'll create a vendor into the system. So we'll create a vendor into the system. Now what we'll do, we'll create a PO into the system. Then we'll receive goods. So we'll create a goods inward note into the system, right? And we'll create a GRN. And after that, what we'll do, we'll do the invoicing into the system. Then on the basis of our company policy, we have a due date, right? And after a due date, there is a terms of payment. We have a terms of payment, and after a completion of terms of payment, there is a due date for such an invoice, right? And after and there is a one actual payment date into the system. So what happens here? Suppose let me take purchase requisition date as in today's date, right? So this is my today's date, and within a 2 days, I will receive quotation from 3 vendors, right? So what I will do, I will create a I will create a I will enter the quotation into the system within a 2 days, right? So in a 30th, I have created I have created purchase quotation for 3 vendors. Out of this, we have selected vendor 2, right? So vendor 2 we have selected. So we will create a vendor on a select a vendor on a same day, and also we have we will do evaluation of the vendors and will create and select the vendor on a same date into the system. So then after we'll create a PO for that particular vendor. So we'll create a PO on a vendor on a same day, or will take 1 more days, right? As per our policy, we'll do the same. So I'm taking 1 more days for creation of the vendor. So on a 31st December, we have created PO on a system. After that, suppose there is we have a setup of terms of delivery. So terms of delivery here is for a 5 day, right? For this particular goods. So in a 5 days, we are receiving expected delivery terms is a 5 days. So suppose we have received goods on a exact 5 days. So 5th of January we have received the goods. On the same day we have created GRN also, right? On a 5th of January we have received goods, and we have created GRN into the system. So generally in most of the cases what happen, we have on a same day we'll do the we'll create an invoice, but here I am taking 1 day's buffer for creation of the vendor. So on a 6th of on a 6th of January we have created invoice into the system, right? After that 30 days are my terms of payment. So after creation of the invoice, vendor allows me a 30 days of the terms of payment as per a company policy and vendor agreement. That within 13 days I need to do the payment to the vendor, right? This is after 30 days this invoice is due. So within 5th of February 2025 I need to do the payment to the particular vendor. But suppose on an average I am doing the payment after 2 days, right? And I am posting the payment after 2 days. I will take 2 extra days to pass the entry into the system. So my actual payment date in the system is 7th of February. So from goods received into the system, and from my actual payment date, right, it is considered as my payment cycle. So suppose here if we will minus this, so 33 days is my actual payment cycle for a vendor. Similar way I have a customer payment cycle. So as a business owner, this is a vendor payment cycle. What I will do, I will analyze my vendor payment cycle and customer payment cycle, and I will make sure that my vendor payment cycle is more compared to my customer receipt cycle, because I want to receive payment from customer as early, and I want to delay the vendor payment as much as I can possible as an business owner. So what I will do, I will analyze my outflow cycle and inflow cycle into the system, and I will forecast them, and from that I can easily able to know that this is this much liquidity I required into the my company, right? So for that I need to do the setup into the system. So here I need to do the setup. So this is my customer and vendor cycle. So I have taken the screenshot of the customer cycle, right? After that, if you will see that this is a overall cash flow configuration I need to do in the system. So you can see that here it is a account payable, and this is my this is a liquidity accounts in terms of payments, and same in account receivable, and same it is there in a procurement and sourcing module, same in a budgeting module, right? So these are the components of my cash outflow and cash inflow. So cash inflow component is sales and marketing and account receivable, and cash outflow is a procurement and sourcing and account payable, and budgeting is my future cash outflow, because what I will do in budgeting, I will post my I will define my future expense in a budgeting, right? So I will define my future outflow into the budgeting module. So this is the middle where of the cash flow forecast configuration. So after that I need to do the setup into the system. For a system setup, what I will do, I will go into the system, and let me go to the cash and cash flow for cash and bank management module. Here I'm going into the cash and bank management module. In cash and bank management module, we have a cash flow forecast. In cash flow forecast, we have a cash flow forecast setup. In cash flow forecast setup, you will see first is a general ledger setup. General ledger setup is important for a liquidity of account. So how much bank accounts I have in a system, I can define in a general ledger, right? So here in a system I have a 3 bank account. First is for USD, first is for INR, and third one is a for a ICICI bank account. So I have a 3 cash flow liquidity account. Liquidity is nothing but wherever my cash and my cash account will hit, it is considered as an liquidity account. So apart from this bank account, suppose I have a DD account, suppose I have a CC account, suppose I have any other accounts related to the suppose I have a deposit account, all are considered as a liquidity account into the system. So apart from this is my dependent account. So what are the dependent account into the system? So to understand that, suppose system will give you a travel account, right? So travel account is helpful when we'll do the traveling for the company, right? But we need to do the recharge for that traveling account. So from whom we'll do the recharge? So again we'll do the recharge from liquidity account only. So for me, it is a dependent on my liquidity account. This travel account is depend on my liquidity account, but it is a consider as an it is also part of my liquidity account, right? So it is a dependent account for me. Travel account, suppose credit card account, and suppose we'll receive Pluxee account, right? So from salary only, we company will deduct Pluxee amount, right? So it is a part of my main liquidity account, but we'll do the recharge from main liquidity account. So it is a dependent on my main liquidity account. So concept of dependent account will comes here. So I hope you can understand this dependent account like Pluxee account, credit card account, and a travel account, right? Apart from this, we have a account payable setup here. So we have discussed in detail in our Excel. that from GRN to actual payment is considered as our vendor payment cycle. Similar to that, we have a customer payment cycle. So here, if you will see, time between a delivery date and invoice date is a 1 day, right? So suppose on a 5th of January, I received the goods. On an average, I will take 1 day in a system to invoicing that GRN. So that setup I have done. Suppose on an average, my terms of payment is a 30 days. So I have marked here 30 days in a system. Then I have taken a 1 days for one more days to the post the payment into the system. So I have entered 1 days in a time date between invoice due date and actual payment date and recording into the system. So this is my liquidity account payment. So I can select here my vendor payment account, bank of vendor payment account. Suppose I am doing the payment into the INR account, then I can select here. And even I can define here percentage of the allocation also for cash flow forecast. If there is nothing, then you can blank it out. Then system will consider 100%. Apart from these, all the vendor groups. So suppose I am going into the account payable. In account payable module, we have setup. In setup, we have a vendor posting profile. So in a vendor posting profile, we can define group wise, table means vendor wise, and for all vendor, we can select the posting profile, right? And we have a different account for that particular posting profile, right? So we can define the posting profile in a vendor posting profile that will automatically flow here in a vendor posting profile. And in a vendor posting profile, you can select all the vendor group, and if you don't want to select any of the vendor group in a cash flow forecast, you can ignore and remove from here. Right, generally people are not using the intercompany vendor. Why? Because we are not doing the payment to the intercompany vendors. Generally we can settle intercompany vendor from one vendor from INMF and another customer from USMF. That's how we can nullify the vendor and customer for intercompany. So you can ignore that, but I have considered to know my actual vendor balance and vendor outflow and inflow. Then here you can select the time between the due date and payment date here. Okay, if there is a different time days between for each vendor group, then you can define here, and otherwise you can define also here. Suppose I have 1 days for actual vendor payment, and here 7 more days I am taking for audio vendor payment, right? So I have selected 7, here I have selected 10. As per requirement you can do. This is just a raw data for a setup. Then here you can select the liquidity account for each vendor group. Suppose for a service group, I am receiving payment from some different vendor bank account, then also from some different bank account I can select here. Otherwise, directly I can select the liquidity account for a payment from here also, right? But if it is a differ from vendor group wise, then also system have a option to select from group wise also. Similar way, we need to do the setup for account receivable, right? So I have done the setup for account receivable also. Then we can do the setup for a budgeting. We can define the expense related budget model. Here it is a demo data, so I don't have a such setup here, but you can select over here. Then suppose if you are dealing with the manufacturing entity, you can do the setup for a inventory management also to convert raw material to finished good, how much time it is taking, you can define here. Then you, for a project management, also you can do the setup here. Suppose you are dealing with some of the entity which are into the construction companies, and you want to define the cash flow forecast for them. You can do setup here, right? So this is again, you can do the project management setup for a construction company. Then for reporting, we have a cash flow forecast automation. From here, you can create a new process for each company. Suppose I am selecting cash flow forecast for each company. You can select. Suppose I have already created for INMF. I can select for USMF and CNMF. Here I need to select on create a series. Here I can define cash flow forecast automation. Right? Sorry, my bad. So I'm not going to create a new one. I'm click on edit. Here what I have done, on a daily basis, I have created one batch job for auto cash flow forecast calculation. And here you can select email. So for every day when this batch job will run, you have an email notification, and if you have any error, also there is a alert here into the action bar. So you can set up this. This batch job will run on a daily basis. We have an option to run this batch job on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, and once in a selected time also you can run this batch job. So after that, there is you can click on next. If you will click on next, there is a two option. One is a total and one is a new. So what is the difference between these two options? Total means system will run the cash flow forecast for all open transaction from the start of the system. If some transaction is open from 2023, system will consider and rerun the batch job in a total basis. And suppose if you don't want to run this system for a first time, definitely you need to run a batch job for a total only. And suppose you have a batch job for a total, right? And you have already run the batch job for a total, and for again and again you don't want to run batch job for a total, then system have an option to select a new as a cash flow batch job. So how this new cash flow will run? So it will check what is my last date of the cash flow forecast batch job, and from that last date of the cash flow forecast batch job, how much additional transaction system have created and what are the open transaction in the system. A system will consider those transaction only for a new batch job, right? So right now I have selected total only. So every time system will check all the open transaction of the system and reconsider and run this batch job into the system, right? So right now I'm not changing any doing any changing in this batch job. So this is a very important batch job for the system. Apart from this, in a system admin module, you need to do one setup. In system admin module, we have a setup. In a setup, you need to do a Power BI configuration, because this report is available in a standard itself, is available in a Power BI only. So you need to do the setup of Power BI. Apart from this, we have a entity store. In an entity store, we have a cash flow related entity store. Let me go to yeah. Cash flow related batch of store is there. So we need to enable, and we need to make sure that we have enabled that automatic refresh for this entity store and also for this entity store. This is a cash flow measure V2, and this is a ledger liquidity store. So for these two, I have enabled automatic refresh. For this, I have enabled for a every year refresh. Okay, so so for this data will refresh in a Power BI in every year, every hour, right? So if you will see that lastly updated data is a 50 minutes ago, and it will take a 6 seconds to refresh the Power BI, right? So you will see that this much time Power BI is dashboard is refreshed in a system. So it is very important uh, to uh, to do the refresh of the data. Otherwise, you will see the Power BI dashboard, but the data will be an old one. Then in a workspace, we have a cash flow forecast report, right? In a workspace, you have a cash overview for all entity, and you have a cash overview for a current entity. So you can able to review your all entity data and your current entity data from here. I'm going into the current entity overview because I have not done the setup for all companies here for a demo. Uh, so this is opening Power BI report. This is a very good Power BI report. Standard have provided us. Yes, so this is basically you can see that uh, this is my bank accounts. INR bank accounts only have selected. So this is only INR bank accounts is there. You can filter it out as per your requirement, right? Then this is my inflow and outflow summary, and this is my forecast, future forecast, cash flow forecast. So here we have a diagram. This is a daily forecast. You can able to see that 1000 inflow here. This is something 90 lakh of outflow is there, and here this is a vendor wise forecast detail. You can able to see in detail here. You can expand this, and you can also export this, and you can analyze this data, and from your Power BI expert and consultant, you can do the changes in this cash flow forecast report. So this is all about cash flow forecast report in D365. I hope you like this video, and stay tuned and subscribe for a more such a valuable video. Thank you all.